In this video, we're going to see one of the newest tools here in VRAY for Rhino, or VRAY in general, which is called LightGen. Now, we're going to leave this scene right here that we used in the previous video to explain the proxies and how to use them to make your scene here and your workspace fluid and not heavy to work with. So let's begin with a totally new scene. So I'm going to open up a brand new scene here so we can see everything from the beginning, so you can follow all the steps. So I'm going to open up the scene that I have already used in other videos, which I have created in SketchUp. And if you're interested in SketchUp, you will find videos in the channel if you look for them, or you can write a comment and questions, suggestions in the comments. Okay, so here we have the standard setup. So let's run a render and see always where we're gonna start from. And just as other beginner videos here, we're gonna do everything so the less experts can follow. So this is the standard and the default setup that we find when we first run VRAY for Rhino. And so we have this background here, which is not pretty nice for an exterior. It looks like a studio set on something that can be useful for an architectural small model, but if I want to do something that looks more like an exterior rendering or an interior as well, I need to use another setup here. And we're going to focus on this part concerning lighting in the following videos. And this one is the first tool that we're going to see. And it's pretty useful for beginners because it automatically generates different variants or different solutions using two systems basically. One is the sun and sky, and the other one is the HDRI. So let's quickly explain what these are. So if you go and search for on the web, you can see that the sun and sky is something really simple. You have like a blue sky and the sun, and this color changes according to the position of the sun. So if the sun is higher, it's gonna look more bluish. If the sun is lower, it's gonna look more reddish. And you can find a lot of examples of how this system is used. Now, this is useful because you can quickly create that, let's say, clear sky look, and you have the sun, you can see the actual sun, you can position the sun anywhere. So it's pretty realistic, and you have this exterior, again, clear sky looking. But what if you want to have something more customized? You want to have, for example, clouds or a particular sunset. Well, in that case, you can use the HDRIs. HDRIs are these like sphere looking images that also can be called environment maps or environment textures or HDRI textures or maps. They have different names, but basically they represent a scenario. So they don't just add a sky and a sun, a procedural sky and a sun, but they add a context, a scenario, an exterior scene or an interior scene, or you can see here this looks like a studio set. So you can create really different look and feel, and also colors, because the HDRI is gonna illuminate your scene. It's going to create lighting. So it will use the colors that are in the image to light up your scene. So they're gonna have a lot of different colors and variety of colors coming from all directions. So it's gonna look really, really realistic. Now this technique is also called image-based lighting, or IBL is the term. So this is some examples of IBL. Now IBL is not only about lighting, but it's also about reflections. So you're gonna have more realistic reflections because you're gonna use an image instead of a flat or a color in the background like in the default state here. But also when you use sun and sky, you only have like few colors, you have like a gradient. And also this is good for the background because you're also gonna have a background, and this is helpful to have more realism. Okay, so let's jump into action. So first of all, I want to set this with a nice looking here in first person and run a test on my viewport to see if I can see like a little bit of the horizon back there. Well, okay, maybe something like that. And now let's click on the light generator. You can find it here, or you also find it, well, let's launch it, because the first thing it's gonna ask you is to start to download stuff. So you say, okay, start downloading. And what it's basically downloading here, it's a lot of HDRIs, so a lot of images that you can use for HDRI looking renderings. So let's leave this to download, and let's go here, and you can also go to VRAY and run the light gen from here, or light generator. Okay, now you can wait for everything here to be downloaded, or you can stop the process anytime. You don't need to wait all the way because it's already downloading stuff and it's saving everything into a particular folder that I will show you later on. And so we can stop this right now, but you can continue and download everything. Okay, so you can resume the download by retry or go to continue, and there's your light generator panel. So you have two options at first. So you can generate an exterior setup for your natural light, or an interior setup for your natural light. Now we are talking about natural lighting. So we are talking about sun and sky. We are not talking about all the other lights that you see here that we're gonna talk later. So let's start with the exterior. And you can see that here I can choose the sun and sky system or light source or the HDR. Now let's begin with the sun and sky. So here you set the variations. So in this case I want to change the variation. I want 3 different altitude and 3 different azimuth for my sun and sky. And also I can define here a thumbnail for the previews. Let's generate. Let's see what's gonna show me. Okay, now this is the first one, and now it's gonna change the position of the sun and the height of the sun, and you can see how the sky in the background changed the color according to the position of the sun. If the sun is really high, it's gonna become like this bluish, like middle, like a little bit of gray and blue. Okay, so what light generator basically does is kind of a brainstorming process. It automatically generates a lot of options, and then you can say, well, I like this effect here or this one here, so I can select that by clicking, and then I can run the render and I can see this setup right here. So it set a little bit of parameters that I will show you